It's said that life is a journey best traveled with friends.
Along the way are adventures and misadventures. But if you're Ms. Mel's friend, you'll find some Ms. adventures.
Join Ms. Mel for misadventures with friends and explore the paths of friendship.
Welcome to you. I'm your hostess, Ms. Mel, and today on Ms. Adventures with Friends, I'm on the road again and in one of my favorite places in the world, and I'm visiting with not one, but two young friends that have a unique relationship with me and a unique relationship with each other, and we're going to explore the idea of friendship and how friendship can change over the years. So welcome to Bentley and Mary, and here we are at camp once again. We go way back.
We sure do.
Yes, Mary and Bentley were youngsters when they first started coming to the camp that I was once on staff at, and I've watched them grow up into wonderful young women of integrity and foolishness, and
ain't that right?
It's a little bit further to one side than the other.
You know, wit and humor and compassion.
Yeah, she's known me for 14 years, Bentley for 13. We go like way
Yeah,
back.
that's a long
We did
way
the
back.
math the other day.
Did you? Okay.
We did. We figured it all out.
Yeah, that's a while. That's a while. So we're gonna chat about friendship, and you guys have a unique perspective on that, being on the other side of things with the camp here, having once been campers and now being on staff. But let's go back. Can we move on back? Back to the beginnings. Let's talk about, if you're willing to share without getting too carried away, let's talk about your relationship when you were campers.
Okay, so Bentley was super annoying and loud, and I was just a jerk, and
I was very obnoxious. I did not know my voice levels back then.
we're talking screaming Friday at the top of her lungs.
I just...
Good old Rebecca Black.
Oh, yeah. I just was very obnoxious. Always wanted to have fun kind of gal. And Mary...
She just lost the interview sheet under the golf cart, y'all.
And Mary was the complete opposite of me. She was quiet for the most part. She scared me.
I scared everybody, y'all. I
she
was like
scared
full-on
me.
goth outfit with the fingerless gloves and the black page boy hat. I was wearing a hoodie and trench coat and long pants in the summer because that was just how I was.
And as a camp staff member at that point, we worried ourselves silly as to whether Mary was going to pass out from dehydration, and she never did.
It was a camp miracle, honestly.
It really was. And then I came back after COVID happened and girls were dressed like me and I was like, what have I done?
It's all your fault. But no, like, we were the complete opposite of each other, and we just didn't really interact or talk with each other, even though we were in the same area, same age group as camp. Literally, Mary and I our birthdays are in the same month.
Like,
we're the same age.
A couple weeks apart.
So,
it was inevitable.
It really was.
It really was. So there was this one time at camp that, one year that I was just being my obnoxious 13-year-old self.
It was when we had the lip sync battle happening. And Bentley, for whatever reason, is just like screaming at the top of her lungs. To this day, I don't know why. Every time I tell this story, she just says, I don't know, man. But anyway, I had a knee-jerk reaction, and I don't know why I was next to her, but I had a knee-jerk reaction, reached out and like punched her in the arm, and she dropped her ice cream. And if it was possible, she screamed even louder, I hate you.
And so, a couple people on staff, I think Miss Mel was one of the ones that pulled us aside and was like, you don't scream, I hate you. Now figure it out. And then we came back the next year and we were just like, Okay.
We had come to some sort of unspoken understanding. It's like when two guy friends are like fighting over a girl and then they have a fist fight and all of a sudden they're besties. It was exactly
They're like,
that.
It's all good, man. Like, you know what? You were obnoxious. I'm scared of you, but let's put it aside. Let's see how it goes.
Exactly, yes.
So.
Oh, goodness. Well, I'm thrilled that you have taken on the responsibilities of being a part of the staff, that you've continued with this, that you see how important this camp is. And, of course, the slogan for the camp is building friendships since 2007. And you're just a perfect example of how that has happened and followed each other. Not just, I think you probably stay in communication, don't you?
We do.
A little bit. Like, I'll occasionally ask her a stupid question like, I'm Spider-Man, right? And she'll be like, yes, absolutely. Bro, you haven't even told them what our current positions at camp are.
Well, please share that with us.
So
what are your current positions?
Started off total opposites, absolute enemies, and now we co-MC at camp.
Yes, we co-MC Master of Ceremonies in the morning for opening, and people say that we're yin and yang.
I'd like to clarify and say that that's probably more like frickin' frack.
Yeah. That we are just
thing one and thing
complete. Yeah, we just balance each other out in like the perfect way. Our banner is just hilarious to everybody.
It's mostly me that's hilarious. But
oh, wow. See that right there? There you go.
Perfect example right there.
Yeah, well, your friendship, I see as a balancing act. You've balanced each other out now. We had loud, obnoxious Bentley, and we had quiet, reserved Mary. What kind of thoughts are going on in her head?
Mostly hateful, judgmental stuff, I'm gonna be honest.
Going on in Mary's head, and everything Bentley thought came out. And,
yeah, that's true.
So you've kind of balanced each other, and now you've drawn each other out of those stereotypes, really, that you had put yourselves in.
Yes.
And found yourselves in, and now you've become a balanced friendship.
And grown as adults, too.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, it's been amazing, like, over the past, 10 years, just to see, Mary grow into herself and as an adult woman, and she's amazing and confident, and
seeing Bentley actually become responsible and in charge of her voice.
yes, learning to control my volume was a big thing,
Bro, oh my gosh, last night she was telling us to quiet down so we didn't wake up the neighboring quads.
It's weird. It's a weird feeling to be like, okay, calm down.
Well, now you're in a position of responsibility. Not just here, but I'm sure out in the big world as well. But let's bring it back here to camp. And one of the things that my daughter always struggled with when she was here, going as a camper and then as a leader in training, a junior staffer, or whatever, I worked to the death all those years. She thought she needed staff status when she was 10. But one of the things that she always struggled with is having these younger girls look up to her. Mm-hmm. When I would say, you're not misbehaving, but watch your actions, your behaviors, what you say, what you do, because these younger girls are looking up to you. These younger girls are looking at you as role models. And I would not be hesitant to say that the girls that are here this year and were here last year see you two as role models for friendship as well, because obviously two people that don't seem like they would get along with one another, and you're good friends and you work together well. Let's talk a little bit about how you see friendships developing at camp, and what made you keep coming back to camp and put yourself out there in these situations around maybe people you didn't know.
It was,
for the most part,
precisely that is the friendships that you make at camp, because doing the activities is one thing, but the people that you do the activities with is what always drew me back. And the good thing is, like, once certain friends don't come to camp anymore, you have new ones to make, and it's like it keeps refreshing itself. And to be able to see the girls make their relationships with each other and with the adult staff and like whatever else, just the dynamics of the whole friendship throughout the camp is just amazing to see. But it's definitely like the relationships that I had with people that kept drawing me back.
I couldn't agree more with Mary. I mean, it's totally that. Seeing it just refresh over and over through the years. I mean, I'm still friends with people I was going to camp with back in the day.
Yeah, I was texting with Caroline just earlier today.
Exactly. But I think now, we have a unique perspective of the fact that, like, we were campers and now we're here as adult members, like, helping and seeing the girls do things that we once did. But it's a unique perspective that almost, like, brings tears to your eyes, because you're like, I was out there. I was doing those things. I was making those friendships, and now I'm still here making those friendships and being around just women that are just absolutely so godly and just amazing influences in our lives. Like, it's just outstanding to see it from such a different perspective now.
You're both adults.
Relatively speaking.
I guess.
This campus is a safe haven. It's an isolated, safe spot where I remember growing up in at camp. I would go to camp every year, and I didn't want to leave because, for whatever reason, I did not have close friends when I was growing up in school, and was bullied quite a bit for still whatever reason. I still don't know why. And I always felt safe when I was at camp. I always felt like I could be myself, who I truly was, not having to put up a guard, a defense, because somebody might bully me if I didn't. You know, it was an easy target, I suppose. But then the real world came, and I couldn't go to camp anymore. As a camper, I ended up being a camp staffer and helping develop this camp, and that dream come true right there. But in the real world, how do you make friends?
So in the book that I was desperately searching for the title of and couldn't find, it talks about the different types of friendship, and the one that we have most often at work is a friendship of convenience. Now, I, a couple weeks ago, just quit my job, but I've already still been texting with a couple of my coworkers because it's like, because it was such a small workspace, we were able to like forge some very special bonds, and they're people that I actually want to like stay in touch with. And like my old manager's like, hey, we need to like go to O'Charlie's and just be, she didn't use the word family, but like it's implied, you know, just go out, hang out. But finding friends that are actually going to be with you after the convenience is gone is the trickiest part. And I don't think that when people aren't friends after convenience anymore, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were never your friend. It's just
a season of life.
It's just a season of life, and they've fulfilled their purpose in your life. And the way you can really, really tell if they're your friends is if you meet each other again later in life and you're able to, I'm going to use a classicist phrase here, pick up the thread of friendship as though it had never been put down. And I find that that's the case with a lot of my friends. Like, for instance, I don't talk to everybody at this summer camp all year round, but as soon as I come back, it's like we never left.
Or, like, I know that if Mary were to text me with something serious, or I were to text her, like, I'd immediately pick up the phone and call her or text her. And I feel like as an adult, that's a huge understanding to, like, get used to. Is that's the way a lot of my friendships are now, is they're girls that I've been friends with since, like, pre-K and, like, middle school and stuff. And we hardly ever talk to each other. But if we were to both pick up the phone and call, like, it was just right where it left off, the thread of friendship. And I think that's so special and something to be said about that.
That's a really nice way to put it. That's because, you know, I've spoken to folks about building friendships and the different kinds of friendships.
There's the honking.
We are at camp, yes. We talk about, you go back to the old Carole King song, "My life has been a tapestry." It's a tapestry, and those threads of friendship weave into that, and we build on that and build it up, and there's a picture of a beautiful life, even with the bumps and the lumps and the grumps that we go through. Our friends are there on the journey with us. And I was watching girls canoeing a while ago, and there were a couple of girls in one canoe. One didn't want to be there, and they weren't getting anywhere. They were going around in circles, and I was like, I'm glad Lewis and Clark didn't have them on the expedition.
Oh my gosh.
Never would have gotten anywhere. We'd still all be living east of the Mississippi.
Or rather, that was Lewis and Clark, and Sacagawea was the one that pointed them in the right direction.
That could be.
Yeah.
But one of them had to learn to paddle.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them didn't want to paddle. And she didn't want to participate. And then they get going and they go straight for a little bit. And the one that didn't want to do it would throw a little fit and stick her paddle in the other side. And here they go in a circle again. So, we have to think about hitching ourselves up to someone who's going to paddle with us and be willing to not only hear, analogies. They're great, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
We love analogies. Canoe with us not only when the water's calm, but when we hit the rapids, and know what to do to help us navigate through those.
And that's a hard lesson to learn coming into adulthood. At least for me, I know it definitely was, knowing that, you have these friends and some of them are only here for a season, but they served a huge purpose in your life for a reason. Like, God put them there in your path for a reason. But just because you're not necessarily friends anymore doesn't mean that road was bad. It means they were there for a reason.
It makes me think of the song at the end of hit musical Wicked, where Glinda and Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, are singing to each other, "I don't know if I've been changed for the better, but because I knew you, I've been changed for good."
Exactly.
Well, who's who? Who's Glinda and who's...
Okay, well, we can take a wild guess.
Take a wild guess.
Who's gonna wear all the
Who's
pink?
gonna wear the green?
Who's gonna wear all the pink and then the black and green?
Y'all, if you could have a visual of us right now, like, we're so full. She's in her cute little
tennis dress.
Pale purple tennis dress. I'm in a heckin' Captain America black t-shirt with these beat-up non-slip shoes.
And her hat. She's got
And
her
my
fisherman's
hat.
cap on.
It's a page boy hat.
Page boy hat.
Page boy
Excuse
hat.
me. You're not a Greek fisherman.
I'm not.
Obviously. You're in this in-between with life, what I call in-between. Most people don't recognize when they're in a stage of life, but you're in a stage of life because you're not kids anymore. You're not directly under your parents' care and supervision, and you don't have kids of your own to look after. You're looking after yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But let's harken back to your childhood. How involved were your parents with your choices in friendships?
Mine were very involved. My mom was, at least. My dad, he kind of not went along, but Mom would inform him, and then he'd later on be like, "Oh yeah, maybe that's not a good idea," or something to me. But it was always Mom who was very protective of me and the friendships that I had. But in that same breath, she wanted me to develop as many friendships as I possibly could, especially as a young kid. I'm an only child. And so,
not that you could guess.
Yeah, not that you could guess, but I was an only child, and so my mom wanted to foster having that social interaction with other people. And so any chance that I got, she was like, "No, go make friends, go do those things."
Yeah, my parents actually weren't super involved in my friendship making. When I was real little, of course they would have to arrange the play dates and everything, but it was usually with people that lived in my neighborhood or people that went to our church. But around when I was 8 years old, they just sort of, it's not that they didn't care anymore, it's just we became part of a bunch of extracurricular activities, and I was just able to be like, hey, I like you, let's hang out. But we wouldn't hang out outside of those extracurricular activities because that just, except this one family, they actually one of them came to this camp a while ago. It wasn't the same year you did, but they are in charge of another camp, and they're actually people that I've stayed in touch with ever since I was 8 years old, and we met through that extracurricular activity. And now, even though me and the other girls in that family that were involved in it aren't directly in that except for summer camps, we still stay in touch throughout the year.
How strongly do you think a parent needs to be involved in developing friendship opportunities for the kids?
I think it depends on the kid.
I think it also depends on the situation. Like, I was homeschooled. I was an only child. We didn't really live in a neighborhood. So my mom wanted to be involved in the sense of making sure that I had social interaction because that was something my dad was concerned about. How funny and hilarious. But I was always an outgoing kid. Like, I didn't need an extra push. I would walk up to a stranger. So I think it just really depends on the situation and how involved the parent needs to be.
Yeah. And as far as, like, depends on the kid goes, it's like, there's this meme that's been floating around the internet where it's like, the way that introverts and extroverts become friends is the extrovert is like, you're cool, I'm gonna adopt you to the introvert. And then...
Oh, Mary!
That's how it goes.
That's how it happens. It really is.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a little short break, and we'll be back in our conversation with Bentley and Mary about friendship. So hang tight, we'll be back.
You're listening to Misadventures with Friends.
We're back with Bentley and Mary, and their very unique friendship. It gives me great joy to see them as friends. It really does. I'm tickled to see that you guys have mended your differences.
Us too.
Yeah.
For real,
Yeah.
though.
Well, we were talking about parental involvement in helping kids to develop the friendships. Tell me about your parents. Do they ever let you in on their friendships? Do you know about your parents' friends?
For me, the majority of my dad and my mom's friends have seen me grow up, and if not all of them are going to be at my wedding someday, just because they've seen me grow up, and a lot of them have been very influential in myself and just really, really great advice, especially my dad's friends. My dad hunts, and so I grew up around those men my entire life since I was a young, very, very young child, being way too loud, as we said before. So I feel like I've been very involved in my parents' friendships and them having me involved in their lives and vice versa, which is really cool as an adult because I could go to any one of them.
Yeah, I'm not overly involved in my parents' friendships, and part of that is that my dad's, like, most of his friends are his immediate brothers and sisters, and my mom is so busy with her work that she barely has time for friendships, but she does have, like, she has this one friend that she went to college with and did her residency with when she was training to be a doctor, and she has her sister that she calls about once a week, and then she has mom friends from the organization that we do this camp through. But other than that, I'm not super, like, involved in their friendships.
Let's just pretend for a moment that you have an opportunity to speak to your future daughter.
Man, she really getting us
I
here.
feel like Bentley has a lot to say.
No.
And you're about to send her off to summer camp, and you're not going. What would you tell her about meeting people that she's never met before?
Feel free to cut this out, but my mind immediately went to the advice that they gave us when I was training as a haunted house clown in a corn maze, which was, if you can't scare, entertain.
That is such a Mary answer, and I
That's
love
obviously,
it.
that's not what I would tell her. That's just where my mind went first.
I mean, in that same sense, you know, I guess, yeah. I would say, I'm trying to think back to what my mom said to me, because she didn't come the first year that I came to camp. 2 years, the first 2 years I went to camp, she didn't come. I would just say to always be yourself and to never be afraid to make new friends, and that it's okay to be scared, but to take the first step because somebody else may not, to make that friendship.
I was fortunate enough to have a few friends come with me my first year of camp, but I think if I were to just very much summarize it into a little nugget of wisdom, it would be what I've been like signing on the girls' t-shirts or on their name tags, whichever one they want, which is the extended version is hang tough, stand tall, and go show them how good you are.
That's so good. That's good, Mary.
Yeah, let's get some t-shirts. Hannah, if you're listening, design us some t-shirts that say that. Man, well, yeah, that's a good one. That is very good. We're going to close with one question. I'm going to give you a second to think about it, and then, if we need to edit out some dead space, we can do that. Not a problem at all. What do you bring to a friendship? Not what do you expect from somebody that might be your friend, but what do you bring that will make a friendship?
I'm thinking about how if I were to say two things to my daughter, and this one should probably be the first thing I say, it's like, it's not necessarily turn the other cheek, because that, despite being biblical, can also translate in some people's heads to be a doormat, but like, even if you are standing up for yourself, be kind in it.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I try to bring to my actual deep friendships, is kindness and compassion and understanding. And yes, I bring lots of hilarity and intellectual conversations depending on how well you know me, but that's something that I always try to do, is whenever my friends are having a hard time, I'm like, how can I support you right now? And another version of that is, what can I do? Is what one of my friends says. And it's more than just being a shoulder to cry on. It's offering to be more if necessary, or just that if it's enough.
Mine would be how I always see the glass half full and not half empty. I always bring a level of positivity and sunshine anywhere I go, but it's something that I like forge in my friendships. And the fact that what Mary just said, like a shoulder to cry on, always, like, you can call me at 3 a.m. in the morning, which is probably not a good thing, but I've learned to have boundaries nowadays. I've learned to grow my boundaries with that, but always being there for people, like actually meaning it.
Good stuff, ladies. I'm so happy that were able to work your schedule. I know you're busy, so that we could chat for a little while. And thank you for being my friends.
Of course.
I consider you my younger friends. Yeah, younger friends keep you young. And I certainly hope that anyway. But thanks for chatting with us today and sharing another Ms. Adventure with me. And I don't know, maybe we'll come back at some point in the future and chat a little more. Maybe give it another year, and I'll come back and we'll have another out in the great wilderness conversation and wait for golf carts to go by and toot horns at us.
There you go.
Thanks, friends, old and new, for journeying with us. Our friendship quote for today I'll tag on as soon as we get back into the studio. Give us a thumbs up, become our friend on Facebook and Instagram. Now go make a friend and be a friend. And thank you to Mary and Bentley.
Of course.
See ya!
Bye!
No distance of place or lapse of time can lessen the friendship of those who are thoroughly persuaded of each other's worth. Robert Southey.
Misadventures with Friends is a production of Depot Street Studios and Rocket 88 Broadcasting. Music clips are from Storyblocks.